Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 107th episode of Tuesdays with Tobe. My name is Tobe Frierson, and as I say each week, I am thrilled, I'm excited, I am grateful to have you all in this space with me today. Last week, we actually talked about living the dream. And no, when we said living the dream, we weren't talking about the fact that we have these fancy cars, our dream homes, the best career ever, the most phenomenal children. They're beautiful, they're smart. We weren't talking about those types of dreams. We were actually reflecting on Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday and the holiday that we have an opportunity to celebrate here in America. We were talking about King Day, and we reflected a little bit on his I Have a Dream speech. And I encouraged you all and myself that we need to be living out the tenets of that speech. And we reflected on 5 of them. I named them in the video. If you didn't have an opportunity to watch last week, I encourage you to bounce back 1 week, take a listen at that one, and then come back over here. But what's so cool about what we're going to do in this space today, while we talked about Dr. King's dream, and while we talked about and thought about how we're living out that dream, today I was just kind of pondering. I was like, okay, so we've done all that. So now it's your time. And you're like, Tobe, what are you talking about? It's my time for what? Well, that's what we're going to get into in just a moment. We're going to get into the fact that it's your time. But before we do that, as we do each week, just to kind of get us going to say they're daily affirmations for me, but weekly affirmations for you, let's look behind me. It is time to read our family rules. Ready, read. During Tuesdays with Tobe, we will use kind words. Do your best. Always be honest. Forgive and forget. Be happy. Count your blessings. Laugh at yourself. Stay positive. And come on, folks, we got to love one another. So I hope I didn't surprise anybody or catch you off guard by announcing and declaring that it's your time. But that is absolutely what we're going to be leaning into and digging into with today's short talk. First and foremost, it's your time because there are things that you told yourself at the end of 2022 that I told myself at the end of 2022. Some of us wrote them down. Some of us shared with others. And here we are. January 24th, and we may have gotten started. Some of us have not gotten started, but notice I said there were some things. There was a list of things that we said we were going to do. Well, the it's your time thought that we're going to have, or talk that we're going to have today, is basically centered around, let's go ahead and pull one thing out of that list. This is an identification message today. We need to identify the one thing that basically, you know what, it's time for me to do this. I promised myself that I was going to be sitting with a therapist in 2023. I'm using this as an example. This actually was on my list though. That I'm going to be sitting with a therapist in 2023 and working out some things so I can be the best version of myself and not let anything that's going on around me stop that, right? Have you found a therapist yet? Have you gone to that first session? So what is your one thing? And you know what? This wasn't even in my notes to talk about this whole therapy thing. That's not my one thing that I was going to share with you all today. But I use that as an example. So since I've just randomly blurted that out and used that as an example, we'll just stick with that. Who cares what's on my notes? That's what came out of my heart to share with you all. So now I need you. Let's identify. What's your one thing that you can promise between me and you? Nobody else is watching us, right? Or nobody's watching you watch this right now, right? What's one thing that you can promise yourself, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pick off of my list, because I do have a list of things that I said I wanted to do in the new year. And Toby's right. I haven't really gotten started. So what's your one thing? Let's start with identification. After we start with identifying what our one thing that we're about to put our foot on the gas and start moving forward on, now it's time, and this might be the hardest part of the little 3 things that I'm going to give us to do. Now it's time to tell someone. You all have to actually tell people around you. And I say people, but it needs to be someone that you trust. It needs to be someone that you can be vulnerable with. If it's something highly personal and private and you know you need to get going on it, yes, I do think you still need to share it with someone. But certainly let's be selective, let's be wise. And here's the reason why. Whenever we're trying to do something that may be difficult, that may not necessarily go with the flow, but we're actually going to be going uphill. And hopefully you all have, lofty things you want to do. I know the stuff that I'm trying to do right now is certainly an uphill battle, or going against the stream, if you will. You need to tell someone, because hopefully that person will hold you accountable. And y'all, accountability is good. Accountability is not scary. It's okay for somebody to say, hey, have you done this yet? And for you to be like, you know what? I haven't. And while you might be disappointed because you were supposed to do it or the time for it is now, if the answer is you haven't, you can say you haven't. But when we don't share with people, when we don't let them know that we have wonderful goals, things ahead of us, things we're trying to tackle, no one's checking in, and likely we're probably not making a whole lot of progress. So the first thing, we're going to identify one thing today. The second thing, we're going to tell someone that we trust. The third thing is, guys, guess when we're going to start? We're going to start all of this today. And the reason why it's your time and the reason why we're going to start today is because it is the 24th day of January. Literally, you all, by the time we get to this weekend, the month is gone. And you all know how quickly we can look back and say, oh man, so-and-so year flew by, this year flew by. We don't want to be sitting here on December 31st, 2023, talking about how the year flew by and we never got going on all those things we said. So it's helpful today that I'm asking you to identify one thing, and then I'm telling you that we're going to start today. That's the big news. We're starting right now because we're going to start today. And while I can't come back every single episode and kind of track with you on this, some of you who I know personally who watch this channel and watch it religiously, I am going to be checking in on you. And I'm not going to ask you to share that one thing that you've picked out on January 24th, 2023, but I'm not going to ask you specifics unless you want to share. But I will recall this message back to you and say, what are you working on? Did you tell somebody? Are they asking about it? And did you start on the 24th? That's our message today. So it's simple, y'all. It's time. It's time for us to get going, chasing after our dreams. We reflected on Dr. King last weekend, and we're literally living out some of his dreams right now. And we're going to be able to live them out even better. But it's time for us now to identify one thing off of our list. It's time for us to tell somebody about what that one thing is. And somebody, whoever you are that this person tells, you hold them accountable in all the best ways. You send encouraging messages. You do something that might be within your power to help them get to where they say they want to go. And then lastly, we're collectively, y'all say it with me, we're starting today. Come on, 1, 2, 3, we're starting today. Hey, I've enjoyed bringing you this message today. I've enjoyed how it's encouraged me because there are some things on my list. Oh yeah, I let that cat out of the bag. I'm supposed to be finding a therapist for 2023 and I have not found said therapist yet. I miss my lady in Savannah. She was amazing. But at any rate, I hope you all had a great January. Literally the next time you see me, it's gonna be February. And I am super excited about continuing to bring these short talks to you all this year. I'm excited about the growth and development that we will all have over the course of a year, but particularly about what he's doing on this channel. So please stick with me, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you back here next week. It's your time.